This is the Seaport. It is Boston's newest neighborhood that developers basically built from scratch. Now, when you think of a seaport, you might be imagining an old shipyard, maybe some boats, warehouses, or some crazy-looking industrial site stacked with shipping containers. In most cases, you're right, but in Boston, the Seaport is the newest, coolest, ultra-modern, and ultra-expensive neighborhood in town. Boston's Seaport District is a new waterfront neighborhood next to downtown Boston that started being redeveloped in the early 2000s. And in the span of a few short years, Boston's Seaport went from an area that was mostly parking lots and empty warehouses to one of Boston's fastest growing neighborhoods that some of the wealthiest people and companies are now calling home. So what happened? And how did Boston turn a parking lot into an ultra-modern neighborhood? In the early 1900s, Boston's Seaport used to be pretty busy, with ships bringing goods and materials from around the globe. It was a center for trade. But the Seaport slowly died down after World War II and became mostly abandoned warehouses, parking lots, and underutilized industrial space. It was by no means a thriving economic zone. It was pretty much dead. Now, Seaport, also known as the South Boston Waterfront, is a contemporary, expensive, rapidly developing part of Boston where builders are fighting over the remaining lots to develop into condos, hotels, or modern co-working spaces for startups. So the Seaport was dead by the mid-1900s, but things started to take a turn in the early 2000s, and there were a few key events that allowed the Seaport to grow so quickly. One of which was the Westin Hotel that went up in Seaport in 2005. Before this, it was just the courthouse as the only building in Seaport that wasn't a warehouse. Then a few other buildings followed, and soon enough, developers were fighting over these waterfront lots to build luxury condos. Seaport's development really started to gain traction in 2008, right at the end of The Big Dig, which was a 20-year construction project costing $14.6 billion that constructed Boston's underground highway system by building an interstate under the city. They took the highway that was above ground and buried it. Although the Big Dig was a giant money pit for Boston, it connected Seaport to downtown Boston via the highway. That didn't exist before, and the Seaport would not be where it is today without the Big Dig making it more accessible. Otherwise, the Seaport would have been an isolated part of the city and pretty inconvenient to commute to. In 2010, the mayor announced the 1,000-acre development on the waterfront that he called the Innovation District, and he was referencing the Seaport. And in 2014, Seaport was named the hottest, fastest growing real estate market in the country. And by 2017, it had become an ultra-modern, high-end neighborhood in Boston. Nothing like the parking lot it once was. Fast forward to today, there's over 350 companies in Seaport. There's over 70 restaurants in Seaport, beautiful outdoor space, art displays, and stunning new condo buildings and apartment complexes. So what happened? Seaport had its growth spurt in 2010, ironically right after the economic crisis of 2008. Since then, growth in Seaport has not stopped. Entrepreneurs, startups, and tech companies started looking at Seaport as the new place to be in Boston. I mean, look how cool the place is. Now, I try my best on this channel to create high quality content, but you know what? Finding the right footage can be difficult. I had no clue how expensive stock footage is until I started on YouTube. Sites like Adobe or Shutterstock can sometimes cost between $200 and $300 a month for stock video, and you're usually limited to 10 to 20 downloads every month. My team and I use Envato Elements, Elements. It's less than 20 bucks a month for literally unlimited high quality video footage, photos for thumbnails, text animations. They have everything, and you can make some pretty cool stuff like this or this. I get a lot of thumbnail pictures from Envato and then edit them on Canva. If you make any type of content for social media or anything graphic design related, click the link in the description to get Envato Elements free for 7 days. They're good for stuff with a lot of search results, so I use it for videos and photos on major cities, but specific neighborhoods and specific buildings don't always show up. But for the price, I'm not complaining. I can make it work because it is way better than spending $300 a month for 10 downloads. So check out the link in the description if you're curious about Envato. Seaport has drawn international attention, and some would say that it competes with Cambridge as being a newer version for startups to call home. Lots of people are coming to Seaport. From surrounding suburbs of Boston, owners of downtown penthouses who want waterfront views, and a lot of buyers coming internationally from Europe and Asia. Now, if you didn't know, most of Boston is actually built on landfill, including Seaport. In fact, dirt excavated from the Big Dig was used to build up the Seaport. A lot of what is modern-day Boston was once underwater, and over the centuries, it was built up to be the waterfront economic hub that it is today. You will notice a night and day difference between the way Seaport looks compared to downtown Boston. Brick and concrete were the most common materials for tall buildings in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But by the time Seaport came around, glass was in style. You'll notice the Seaport neighborhood is almost completely made of glass. It's one of the only neighborhoods in Boston that is absolutely full of these shining glass buildings. Nothing similar to downtown Boston and the financial district. Now don't get me wrong, they're building some new towers in downtown Boston, but you still see a lot of the older Boston skyscrapers. Now Seaport is cool, it's really cool, but it's not without its problems. Traffic throughout Boston is a nightmare, and some would say that Seaport still lacks basic city services, mainly police and fire. It needs better access to medical space and the hospitals nearby, and public transit around Seaport isn't as integrated as the rest of Boston. There's also issues of income and racial inequality and having access to the same resources that the rest of Boston has. Seaport is one of the least diverse neighborhoods of Boston. And what's an expensive city like Boston without a housing shortage? Seaport has fewer affordable housing units than the city needs. It's funny that Seaport actually started with developing hotels, and then options were being built for apartments and condos. This definitely helped the neighborhood gain momentum as buyers and renters moved into Seaport's luxury new housing options. Seaport's housing is definitely not affordable by most definitions, but it's new, modern, and often comes with ocean views. So naturally, the real estate market started to take off, and prices have not slowed down. Now that most of the prime real estate along the waterfront has already been built up, developers are moving further inland to continue developing the Seaport. Today, the Seaport has minimal industrial space compared to what it used to be, but you can still see some remnants of the industrial past, especially if you walk through the Fort Point district right next to Seaport. You'll see plenty of old factories and industrial warehouses converted into lofts and luxury condos. Today, in the post-pandemic world, Seaport is booming. Developers are fighting over the few remaining lots, and everything is being built up along the waterfront with these shining new modern buildings. Seaport was not an overnight success, and it's got some work to do in building more resources that Boston actually needs, rather than more high-priced condos. But it sure is a good example of how to revitalize an old industrial neighborhood into an upscale new way of living. For more content on international development projects just like this, Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.